Hello, everybody. How are you going? Good to be here. Hope everybody's doing well. Do a bit of a weekend stream again, because that went pretty well last time, so yeah, see how this goes. Yeah, as usual, let me know what's going on, if there are any issues. Haven't changed any settings, so hopefully everything works. Arlen, hello. And Antonius, hello, man. How's it going? Good to see you here. Hope things are well. Gannon, hello. I was looking at some more War Machine stuff over the weekend. A few guys at work have been getting back into it. So maybe something along those lines today. Yeah, I'm doing good. Yeah, relaxing Saturday. Not too much going on. Work's been good. It was super exciting to announce everything that we announced at Gamescom. Yeah, so that was cool. So I've been doing, the last few streams have been very line work based to begin with. So I'll try something a little more painty right off the bat, because line work's fun, but I don't see anyone do line work. New Hots is killer. Thank you very much. Yeah, I had a heap of fun with that one. It's always funny with those big pieces where I get started and yeah, I don't know. I feel like a lot of the time I don't quite plan them out well enough. I think I was pretty happy with that one in the end, but yeah, I ended up like fighting it. But glad you liked it. It's always like a big piece is always, as you get further along with it, it's always going to be, you're always going to see issues. How do you switch between brush sizes? It's just Alt and then right click and drag and do it. Bulletproof, hello. Glad you could make it finally. I did not know that. So I recently realized that there's this little thing up here which lets you not delete stuff as you're cropping, which is handy for some things. But if you do that, I guess it doesn't fill the background color with anything, so it's always going to be blank. I just have to keep an eye on that. It's a perfect time for a stream. It's only midnight over there. Nice. That's awesome. Yeah, I think weekend streams are probably going to be more common. Seem to have more going on weekdays these days, and it'll be a little easier to like wrangle an afternoon. Getting started with this. I don't really have like a super like design in my head, but obviously I'm like, alright, this will be some sort of Cryx based thing. I know the style. Yojimbe, hello. How's it going? Good to see you. Yeah. I was not sure, but decided to go for it. Art inspiration indeed. Whoa. So I'm not really sure what I'm doing here. This is not like a, oh hey, this is what I always do. Hanging around because I wasn't super happy with the colors as they were. Yes, I will post. Man, I've been so bad. All right, and this afternoon after stream, I'll go do a dump on DeviantArt. Do an art dump on DeviantArt and get all the stuff that I have not posted up. Got a couple more Liz things to go up to. Intuos Medium, yes. Yeah, it is. That is the tablet I have here. It's an older one, I think it was a 3. Darren Clatt. Hello. This soft, this music is Yonzi and Alex. This is the guy from the lead singer of Sigur Rós, one of his solo albums. She's very nice and pleasant. Because of the time difference? Well, I'm glad you thought it was going to be at 10:30. What time is it now? Your time. Well, I'm glad you made it either way. Also. $3.51. Nice. Oh yeah, like I said, glad you actually did make it. How can you make sure that your art looks good on most screens, especially if you have two that are totally different? Honestly, in that sort of case, I would sort of average it out. I mean, you could probably, at this point, have a pretty good idea of which is more accurate. But you want to get it working pretty well no matter what. Like, this currently is working pretty well on this monitor, but I have a very similar issue. Like, if I have, like, put this over here on the other monitor, it's like super dark, but I mean, and so you can overcompensate. If you know your main monitor is like off, then you can overcompensate. Honestly, just be careful. Things that get lost are like really dark. Like, things that are really close to black are usually what is the worst offender. So if you got a piece that is overall really dark, then that's probably the main issue, that you may have to like lighten something up. Though I definitely know that, like, sometimes I'll have the opposite effect, and I'll sort of be working a little too light, it'll look fine here, but it'll actually, if I like take it to work or send it off somewhere, it'll be darker, lighter than it should be, and a little bit washed out. And honestly, there's not, like, you can try and calibrate your monitor. There are various ways of doing that, but I think just getting a feel for, like, if you're posting art online, it can be a good idea just to like look at it different places, like on a mobile phone or something like that. Just see, and eventually you'll get a get an idea for, like, oh, my main monitor is like the red's not showing up nicely on it, so I have to like know that I don't go overboard on the reds, because even if it doesn't look super red, like I have that issue with my Cintiq at work because it's a bit of an older one, and I think they had issues showing up nice like reds. So if I'm painting something fiery or something like just red, I'll end up sort of going a little overboard, and then I'll bring it up on my second monitor and suddenly it'll like blow my face off. I'll be like, holy crap, that's so red. And I think that's just something to get used to. Also, you can get used to like looking at this. Like, this is 5% black at the moment. The brightness is at 5%, so this is pretty close to black. And maybe like even the lightest point here is still only 20% black, but it's like, oh, that's totally light. So I think but looking at the numbers, you're like, oh, actually, that's not very light, and you can get an idea in that case. Be like, oh, okay, it looks light to my eyes, but actually, I know if that's going to get shown anywhere else, that is actually going to be really dark. You'll slowly get the hang of that as you just paint more and see your stuff, see something that you thought was a certain color on a different monitor, and go, oh crap. Realize what you need to update. You like I like the different approach on this one. Yeah, I think there's something a bit more satisfying about it. Like, I do like doing line work. Like, I think there's definitely something satisfying about doing nice line work. But as far as streaming purposes goes, I've felt the last few times I've done that, the line work has been nice, but then I end up like not having time to color anything. And I guess I can ask, like, what do people prefer watching? I feel like I know the answer. I would guess the answer would be people prefer like just watching the painting side of it rather than the line work side. A bit of both is probably fine, but to come up with something, it's definitely a quicker and easier to like change my design on the fly sort of process. When I'm painting my shadows, am I using multiply? No, I've got, no, it's all just regular painting at the moment. It makes it easier just because it's quicker rather than having to like remember what is on what layer. I will very rarely use multiply like that. If I do anything, usually it ends up being, if I use things that are layer on, like with layer blend modes that I play around with, it's more often something like whenever I'm doing either highlights or effects. Sometimes I'll change it up if I realize towards the end of a piece that I'm like, oh crap, this isn't like, it needs more dark in here. Then I'll probably go through and maybe make an adjustment. with like a multiplier or an overlay is probably more common, because I feel like I can do a little bit of both that way. I can affect highlights and shadows, but for the most part I like using solid color for shadows and stuff, because you get a little more interest in it. Yep, I can turn this down. Hey K-Link, do I use any kind of productivity software? No. Hell no. I mean, not saying I shouldn't. Something like that. Probably not a bad idea. Especially, I have definitely been feeling lately, having gotten a puppy is like exacerbated, because like the free time we have is like even more limited now. So maybe it'd be a good thing to do. But no, I don't know. Pint of choice. This is a what was it called? Heal the Bay IPA from a brewery that I don't remember, that I got from Costco. It's like a little 9-pack of canned beer, the 3 different IPAs. Pretty decent. Probably, I don't know if I'd buy it again, depending on what else was available, but not bad. Not sure about that yet. Wow, that's quite a question. Wanted to ask, don't understand the workflow. I'd like to know my thought process in terms of applying theory to my initial construction phase. And you work in a more like very process way, starting in a very like rigid like manner. I mean, I feel like adjusting that comes with practice, probably. And needing to get stuff done quickly, and it depends a lot. I think I've talked about this before, but it makes a huge difference that I'm not actually producing art for anything specific. Here, like, I can just do whatever I want, so I'm free to just play around. If I'm doing something that needs to be more, that needs to be signed off by people or something, a lot of the time I'll start a lot more rigidly. I will do a rough sketch. I will have more of a process, but while I'm streaming, I can just get away with like, yep, I just play around with it. I did used to be, like I said, it comes with practice. Like I did used to be a lot more rigid in how I painted, and it depends on like how specific a style that I'm wanting to hit is. Like, I mean, even this is alright, but I don't have a like an exact model that I have to like get right, so I'm not too concerned about that. I'm just sort of, I know the style that I want to get, and I'm just painting to that. Whereas if this was like, I can use I mean that's quite a while ago, so it's a good example of like how I've changed my process since then. But the original War Machine art that I did for their 2nd edition stuff was very, like, I had a very specific process with a rough sketch that I'd send off, get approved, and then I'd do like I've got some process stuff up on DeviantArt from that period of those pieces, and it would be like a line art, get nice line art, and then do flat colors underneath, and then rendering on the top, and all the different every different like material, like the golds and the plate and the bone and then the effects on top would be on separate layers and stuff. And to some degree, I'm not, even when I'm doing final art, like full illustration stuff, I don't work that rigidly anymore, even at work, but it's more like that than it used to be. And yeah, like I said, I think that just comes with being more comfortable with your process, and as you internalize things that you would initially have to like plan out more, then you have more freedom to experiment in other areas. Whereas if you're still like really working on your rendering and working on the different aspects of it, you need to, it would take a little bit more time, I guess. It's probably how that works. How important is sRGB when picking a monitor? Honestly, for a start, I haven't bought a new monitor since I moved to the US. This monitor is really, really nice, and I got it. It was like $800 when I got it 6 years ago, almost 7 years ago, and I haven't bought a new one. So I honestly haven't kept up with any of that, like what's important these days and what's not. So I can't really help you there. I mean, yeah, like having a nice monitor is obviously important, but I don't know what makes a nice monitor at the moment. Is it a good idea to copy the works of old masters? I would say 100% yes. I don't do any of it. I feel like I should. Also, apologies, I am like spinning my canvas around like crazy at the moment. Yes. There's definitely, I mean, and that comes down to like the internalizing stuff, but the decisions have already been made, and as opposed to like looking and trying to work it out yourself, I think like copying those decisions and like seeing, I think will make you a lot more aware of like why some of those decisions have made, and like really honestly speed up your like working out why certain things behave the way they do. Like it's certainly not cheating, I would say, in any way. I mean, they all would have done it. Like it's basically just practice. Like you, and I mean, if you're like thinking it's portraiture, copying someone else's portrait is like a copy compared to a copy of a copy because they painted something else. But I mean, that's everything, right? Like, I don't think you need to worry about that sort of thing. And honestly, it's probably better to do that than to some of the time than to do like photo studies. I mean, that depends on what your like goal is and what style of art you want to do, but a lot of the time, like studying from photos, it's great and it helps you render, it helps you know how things work, but a lot of the time it can also be like photos, they're what the camera sees, right? And so they don't help you with composition, they don't help you with design, and they don't help you with like working, like your eye sees a photo and you go, yeah, that's real because it's a photo and it's like realistic enough that your brain gets it. But if you break down some things, like the camera does weird things to people, and people's poses can be weird, even perspective, like because of the lens distortion. If you're trying to copy stuff, then you end up like can end up sort of getting led astray by that, and things that look real in a photo because it's a photo will suddenly look really, really weird in a painting, and so you have to learn how to edit that down into something that like works nicely as an illustration. Or I mean, and like I said, it depends on what you want to do. Sometimes you want realism, and so you get to learn like how. But I mean, that still goes back to like, and that can be working from a good photo versus a bad photo, and you're like, if it's just a random photo that's not very well composited, you know, there's a difference there. I think I started rambling a little too much there, but I think you get the point. Any tips how to learn to draw good form? Jeez, that's not really. That's a tough one because it's like that ends up being like, how do you stylize stuff? And it's not necessarily stylized like in a cartoony way or anything, but to some degree, all painting is like stylizing stuff or like reimagining things and simplifying things a little bit. Do a lot of it. Practice. Find people who you think are really good at like getting forms nice, and examine their work, copy their work, I guess. Like, as long as you're not copying to be like, hey, posting it online and saying this is my work. There can always be like stuff to be learned from doing that. Or even just, yeah, and it like that is basically studying how someone else approaches like illustrating form or whatever, and that can be a super handy thing. I mean, it's all just practice. I don't have any specific tips. If you followed a rigid process for, say, 30 pieces or so, would that be enough to, like, start getting a feel for it? I mean, yeah, I think so. It's not going to be like, you do that, you do that, you do that, and suddenly you wake up one day and bam, there you've got it. Like, it's a process, and as you work, you're going to get, you're gonna find things that you once were like concerned about suddenly coming more easily, and as that happens, you're gonna find other things that are causing you issues or like that you need to work on. And I think like trying to stay conscious of the things that you like struggling with and the things that you're like getting better at, and then tailoring like the sort of art you're doing to like work on those things is probably a great idea. But it's like it's a continuing process. You're not gonna get there. Almost as good as a Bob Ross stream? Well, that's high praise. Thank you. Alright, we got a lot going on. Is this a personal project? Oh, hello there, by the way. Hello, waifu. Glad you could make it out. This is semi-fan art. This is some War Machine inspired stuff. It's not really... Nothing specific, not connected to anything else I've done. Been looking at their stuff recently. So cool. I can make the playlist public, I guess. I think I can do that. Make public. Look at that. Playlist link. Here we go. Ta-da! It's not like it's like secret stuff. It's all available on Spotify. Did I rebind my rotate canvas? Yes. It used to be wait, no. It used to be. It is when they added it in, but I rebound it to N because R is smudge tool. And I was too used to that already. Is this? It's a war machine, basically. It's not anything specific, but it's basically from the Cryx faction. It's just sort of semi-undead stuff. Key things to define style have almost nothing to do with tools and everything to do with your final result. Though there are some, and that differs depending on the type of project you're working on. I know in 3D, especially like in ZBrush, it can make a big difference to be like have an entire team working with the same sort of sets of tools, so that if they're working on rocks or metal or something and you want to do cracks in rocks, they're all like doing the same type of cracks in the rocks. But and so you can get a little bit of that with like, oh, these are the brushes that we use, so everyone should use those, and your art will look more similar. And though that is true to a certain degree, but it doesn't really have any. It's just, that's about like convenience more than style. But so key things to defining style. Oh god, that ain't even. I don't know. A lot of that is like proportion, like how proportion is treated across different things. I remember Nicholas Jansen had a nice like little had a description of like the difference between Warhammer and Blizzard. Here you go. This is like, these are a style, something like this, where you've got like this is something pointy. Everything is like fine detail, pointy ends. This is like super chunky, so this is like where Warhammer is. Like, you look at Space Marine, they're Space Marines, and they're just like block things, and even a lot of their other stuff. And this is basically Blizzard, right? Like, this is where this is the everything has extra edges. All the edges are flared out, and so this is a super like simple description of how a very simple idea, it's like the way you treat a cross, translates into a style for your entire game. And that's only like shape language is only a certain is only like one aspect of style, right? But if you look at something like Diablo 3 and compare that to Warcraft, your style comes in like how it is a painterly look compared to like the stylized. Well, they're both painterly to some degree. Both of them have very heavily hand-painted textures, and yet they're very, very different in their results. And I don't know how much. I don't feel like very much of that at all comes from technique. Insofar as like, oh, you use these brushes and you'll get the correct style for this game. I mean, yeah, it's a big question, so I don't know how much further to answer that, but. So this is what happens. I start painting. I'm like, oh, okay, I gotta do these teeth bits on a separate layer in case I don't want them. And then I just start painting, and so like everything from here on up is gonna be on a new layer now. have I ever wanted to be an art director? I mean, it is an interesting, like, a cool thing to be like heading up a project like that and having control of it to whatever degree. I think there are a lot of issues, and it depends on where you're working as to how much this is the case or not. But the higher up in that sort of thing you end up being, the less actual art you create. And I know to some degree, certainly at least with like Samwise, he sort of pushed back against that a little bit, and like recently he'd been doing a lot more actual art, as well as being like the go-to point for like direction on everyone else and approval and then and all that. But there's definitely a challenging like path between like, all right, how much art are you producing versus how much time are you spending giving people feedback and directing other parts of the project, and certainly like even the managerial side of it. It's like once you start doing that, you become a lead and you start having to have other responsibilities to your employees and to the other artists on your team. So yes, I mean, it would be cool, it'd be amazing. But yeah, there are a lot of other factors there aside from like, hey, you get to be the one who decides what happens. It's like, well, you don't get to actually be the one who does very much of the work. And I'm not sure that I'd want to like give up doing a lot of what I do, but you never know. Yellow Pack, hello. I have a blue hello. It comes to an artist moment when his team is starting to mess things up and you just want to show everyone how to do it properly. I guess there's some truth to that, though that really does also depend on where you work. And honestly, hopefully that shouldn't be the case, like, and I think at Blizzard, one of the things that we try and do very strongly when we're hiring is hire people who are capable artists, and obviously you want to do that, right? You shouldn't want to be in a position where you're like, you don't know what you're doing, let me just do it all myself. You're probably, because that's not what you should be, because that's the opposite of what you need to do as an art director, and I think Sammy is a fantastic counterpoint to that, who trusts his artists very, very heavily to be like, here, I gave you a concept, I hired you because you're a good artist, and you don't necessarily need an orthographic turnaround to do this. Like, here's the direction you're going in, and like, I trust that you like, can take it from here. And obviously there'll be some feedback and approval processes, but he's responsible for setting the style, but not responsible for showing people how to do their job, because people should theoretically know how to do their job, right? And so I think being an art director is more, I mean, there's a considerable amount of management skill, which I'm not sure that I have, but a big part of it is like having a strong like feeling of and direction of a project. So I think that's honestly more important. Okay, if you don't break locks with keys. Yeah, so I mean that's just my take on that matter. And so it's awkward. I mean, I don't have, like, I really enjoy creating stuff and coming up with things, but I don't have a huge direction for, like, I have this world in my head that I want to get out, and I need to, like, be a director and have other people work on it. So I'm not sure if that's a good or a bad thing. Like, I'm not pushing super hard in that direction at the moment, but still early days, right? Sounds like Sammy is a truly great man in the industry. I mean, he is amazing, and I think it's interesting because I don't know if he gets quite enough recognition. I mean, obviously, people who are like longtime Blizzard fans have a big like understanding of like how important he is to our like what Blizzard is basically. But I've gotten a feeling that there's like some people don't necessarily see his art. There's still like his stuff's amazing, and he's like his concepts still hold up super well. But he's obviously not doing super crazy illustrations, and I don't know. I feel like outside of the office, you don't see how much other stuff, like how massive an influence he is inside Blizzard. I don't know. But yeah, he's amazing to work with. No cats or dogs today. Everyone's sleeping at the moment. That's also another good thing about streaming in the middle of the day is the animals are all like, yep, this is our time to just relax. Like, dog is just happily conked out. Went on a walk, pretty long walk this morning, and she's just like, yep, that's it. I'm not gonna wake up till like 4. Cats are just completely passed out on either side of me. One of them's on the windowsill, and one of them's on my wife's computer chair, which is his favorite spot. Yeah, so it is definitely definitely a good time to do it, and it's nice. No one has to be like freaking out and taking care of the animals. There's something very satisfying about adding this sort of glowy stuff. Yeah, this is basically how I do like all of my like effect stuff. So layer with outer glow, bring a dodge to a darkish color, and then bring a dodge where it's at. Should be doing commissions, but you're hooked. Wow, I'm glad you guys are enjoying it. It is a lot of fun. And it really is like, I feel like I've been a little slack lately getting with my personal stuff, so it's a really good way for me to make sure I'm like actually getting stuff done. Do I miss funnel web spiders? So I have never actually seen a funnel web spider. They're like Sydney based. So I have not had the pleasure of having to deal with that. Was I one of the judges of the hot DeviantArt contest? No, I wasn't. Though we definitely like all saw all that stuff. There was some amazing stuff there. Fans are crazy. At least they made it out. Yes. Going back at Christmas. It should be nice. Tickets are booked. I do miss it. More for the people than the actual place, though. Yeah, I know. Yeah. I really liked. You like, because I liked your entry. Nice. What was your entry? There are some amazing entries there. Oh, nice. So cool. Yeah, I really just like wish I had more time to. If my job was just painting scenes of all of our heroes battling, yeah, like that would be amazing. I occasionally get to do it. I just started working on something big for BlizzCon, and it's super exciting, and it like doesn't get to happen that often, but so fun. There's so many opportunities. That's really nice stuff. Do I still do studies? A little bit, yeah. Nothing crazy. I mean, I've never been great at sitting down and trying to work, like doing proper studies. Do I do a lot of 3D stuff at work? No, none at all. So I did a little when I first started. So I did some critters. My full 3D stuff. The only full 3D stuff that I've done at work has been the critters in StarCraft, in Wings of Liberty. So the automaton and the Ursadak, I built completely. But aside from that, that's basically. Can I do the? I may have done the Karak. I did the concepts for that, but I don't remember if I modeled it or not. But no, these days very little. I used to do more texture work as well. So I did a lot of minions and mercenaries in our maps. I did the textures for. I've done some heroes. A lot of Zergy stuff. Quite a lot of the Zerg stuff that's in heroes I've touched texture wise. But no, very very little generally, and it's less than it used to be. There was a while where I was like, right, I'm gonna learn ZBrush and then start like doing proper 3D stuff and sculpting, and I still haven't gotten around to that. And it's not, I mean, maybe one day, but I'm not sure which part of, like, I only have so much time to get stuff done. I only have so much time to spend on various like tasks, and I don't have stuff really that I would give up to be like, yeah, I'm gonna start Plus, we have so many great modelers and stuff on our team already, that it's quicker and just as satisfying, basically, for me to like concept something and have someone else build it and then have it end up in the game that way. And it's almost more satisfying to like see something that was like concepted and not have to get sick of it for working on it for like a couple of weeks trying to get it all worked out. I'm pretty good at this drawing thing. Yeah, exactly. Like, I'm good at what I do, and I don't see, like, it'd probably be good for me personally to do, like, some 3D stuff and get more into that. Because it's a little bit like sculpting, right? Where there's things that you can learn doing 3D stuff that will transition back over to your 2D side. But in a professional level, like, yeah. Do I have any advice for freshly graduated student who wants to get into the industry? I think catering your portfolio towards places that you want to go is a great way of doing it. Like, if you just have the same portfolio and you just send it to all the places you go to, I don't know, like that can definitely, I mean, it might work. Maybe you're already doing the sort of thing that they want, but a lot of the time I find it's a really good idea to be a little like, and obviously the majority of my experience is via Blizzard, so I'm going to use that as an example, even though it's not necessarily indicative of most of the gaming world. But obviously it's going to be relatively similar. Like, I think everybody's going to like not having to mold you to fit like their style, right? Like, everybody wants something specific. And if you're already doing something like that, then that's a lot more. So if you're going to work at somewhere like Blizzard, then you have, like, I know we like have fan art, have stuff that's in that style, don't show things that you're not that you're not happy with, or that you wouldn't want to do when you're actually in your day job. That's a big thing too. And if you're going to somewhere, say you're like, oh hey, I want to work at Naughty Dog, I want to do that sort of thing, make sure your portfolio has stuff that is like relevant. Because I feel like a lot of the time I'll see people's portfolios and it's like, yep, this is what I've been doing, and it's not necessarily it's obvious that it's just, yeah, this is what you like doing. No worries. This is what you like doing, but is it necessarily like going to be relevant to what you'll do once you've been hired? I mean, that's not, I don't know if that's super helpful. I feel like maybe that's obvious, but well, if you're like, yeah, talking specifically about Blizzard, then yes. Like looking on a specifically portfolio level, having stuff that you're, yeah, that represents what you want to be doing at Blizzard is huge. If you're like, here's my fan art that I did of a character from Heroes, because I'm applying for the Heroes team. I was like, here's this Overwatch character that I did. It's like, and I'm applying for Overwatch. It's like so immediately obvious that it's like, okay, that's what you're doing, you can do it, this is what we would be hiring you for. You can do it. Did I apply for my job? I applied for a job that didn't end up being the one that I got hired for, but I believe they knew where to reach out to because I had already applied in the past. I had actually applied for a job on what was Titan at the time, and I didn't hear back there, but I ended up getting a call and so no, not really, and but you obviously should, like, don't just sit there expecting a call. That's not ever going to be the best way to go about things. I mean, sometimes maybe that'll happen, especially, I don't know, like these days maybe it's more common, but proactivity is always good, he says, not being a very proactive person. Karin, you've been on Photoshop watching, and when you started you thought you were alright, and now your stuff looks like children's drawings. It happens to everybody. I look at stuff that people have done on the streams, I'm like, oh, come on. Like, that's part of being an artist, right? Like, it is going to happen. You're going to look at other people's stuff and feel inadequate, and that's the only way that you're going to get better, because you'll be like, I'm going to get better than that, or whatever. So that's you've just gone into Hearthstone. Yeah, that'll do it. If you're, just in case you were worried about art, don't worry about art because you wanna do that. I mean, it can be addictive. You can be alright with it. It's not so terrible. So this is the sort of situation where should you add process stuff to your portfolio? If it's like a concept piece and you're like, here's the 3 designs that I did that are quite nice, and then I chose this one, then yeah, that can be a good idea. I would not put like work in progress stuff. Like, we don't need to see a process. So seeing as long as you're happy with all of the options that you had, and then you had one that you liked better than the others, then yes, I'd say go for that. But if you're like, these were the 3 that I didn't like and the one that I did like, and I put them all in anyway, that's probably not really necessary. You should only have stuff in your folio that you're happy with. So don't just put it in because you're like, oh, this is how I got there. We don't need to see your workings. Because you can explain that stuff. You can talk about what you were trying to do. If you end up in an interview or something, you can talk about that, but you want like what you have in your folio to all be like good stuff. And it could feel a little like filler. What is going on with this? Did I have a plan in mind on how to improve when I was starting out? No, not at all. I was very not focused. Do you need an art education to get a job in the gaming industry? Not at all. I do, and the only thing it helped me with was getting a visa. No, as far as actually getting a job goes, no, I would say it's not at all a requirement. Art is one of those amazing things where it is actually based on how well you can do whatever it is you do. And so it's easy because you can take a look at someone's folio and it's very obvious immediately whether they're good or not, right? I mean, obviously there's a little more to it than that, but it's a very compared to even like design or certainly other things like production or whatever, it's like it's a lot easier to show that you're here's my work, this is what I've done before, I can do more of this for you, and I'm probably only going to get better from here. So so no, I mean, I think the thing that an art education is good for is like giving you something to do, which is basically what I use it as something to do while you're also improving and learning if you're not ready to get into the industry. But there are other ways of doing that without having to spend that much money. Is there anything that I could be tasked to draw that I'd be like, I don't know how to do that, or am I 100% confident? Well, I'm never 100% confident, even with stuff that I'm like, yeah, I can do that. I don't really know if I want a face in here. No face. I mean, I think that's like, I don't think as an artist you should ever be 100%. Like, there's always stuff to learn, right? But you're going to be better at things as you go along. And no, there are definitely things that I'm like, oh Jesus, I'll have to like, this will take more time. When I'm working in somewhere like Blizzard, do you have to work in their style? Like, yeah, basically. I mean, Blizzard's pretty good at, I mean, they have a very specific style, but it's got some range to it, so you can do that in a certain way, and that does depend on what sort of position you're in. Like, as a concept artist, I've got a little more leeway, because I can trust that the 3D artists are going to be able to translate what I do as concepts into art that will fit in with the rest of the game. When I'm doing illustration work, there's less of that, but we still have a little bit of leeway. But there's definitely some like stuff that feels like Blizzard and stuff that doesn't, and we need to focus on the former. And there are, so like when I'm working on concept stuff, it doesn't necessarily have to fit, but obviously I need to be working on something that I know can eventually be like Blizzard style, right? Like it doesn't, I might not have to render it super cleanly and be like, yeah, this is what it would look like if it was a Hearthstone card, or a full illustration, but I have to know that have to have a good idea that once this is a 3D thing in our game, it will match all the other things in our game. And yes, you do have to do that no matter where you are. Like, that will be, as part of working in a team, part of working on a game, is is being able to like work in a style that makes sure the end product fits. It feels cohesive, and it's like, which is one of the reasons that I suggest that if you're applying somewhere, you have work that is relevant and like to that place in your folio, so that, because we will hire people who aren't exactly like on point Blizzard style immediately, because not a lot of people are like that, but the closer to that you are, the better a chance you have of being hired, because we don't have to, once you start, spend a lot of time basically correcting you towards the right style that we want. And I think that's probably similar anywhere, whether they whether they say it explicitly or not. Blizzard is very explicit about like how much we want people to already be fans of the work and everything. Some places will be less dramatic about that, but at the same time, it will be easier for an artist anywhere if you are capable of like fitting in style-wise with the people who are already working there. What am I doing with this hand? What kind of style would I describe Blizzard's as? I mean, it's a... I don't know. It's very stylized. It's very exaggerated, I think, is a great way of putting it. When you first saw Max Greg's art, I love his stuff. You didn't think it'd be suitable, but having seen him work in it, you thought, like, it obviously fits. I think his stuff fits very specifically the Hearthstone style very, very well. Because their approach is more overly stylized and exaggerated. Well, not necessarily more exaggerated, but more stylized and a little bit cartoonier and a little bit like rounder and friendlier than the stylization that we approach in some of our other IPs. And so I think the way he stylizes things fits in like really, really well with their stuff. And it wouldn't fit in so well, even with Heroes, which is obviously still a relatively stylized thing. Like it's very much an epitome of like this is Blizzard's style. I think Heroes is more in the middle, and Hearthstone is further on the end of like if you have a slider between Hearthstone and Diablo 3, and Warcraft and Starcraft are in there somewhere. Heroes is probably sort of in the middle. It's closer to Warcraft than Hearthstone. I mean, I just love his stuff generally, so I'm always gonna go like, yes, that sort of thing is great. what's a good way of finding out what a company is looking for? Well, I mean, hopefully, if they've got a job posting, they'll tell you what they're looking for. Art-wise, I think they don't necessarily need to tell you what they're looking for so much as, like, if you spend some time getting, like, at the very least looking at what the games they produce, being like, alright, this is the style they want, that's probably what they're looking for. Otherwise, I mean, people have Twitter accounts, people, like, a lot of the time, and I mean, I know I personally am pretty bad at answering questions, like, via Facebook or Twitter or whatever, but a lot of the time, people will be sort of happy to at least talk generally about what they do or what their company is, like, looks for in an artist. I mean, companies may have, like, even if you are not applying directly for something, sending an email through to the HR or, like, whatever recruitment, however it is that you can apply to them via their website, and ask that, like, basically for clarification if they have like a posting up or something, that can be totally fine. Like, they'll probably be happy to give you some advice there. Alright, I think I'm getting close to being done. How do I handle over detailing? Not spending too long on stuff helps. Doing something like this, I think it's helpful when I'm like, alright, I have like 2 hours to do something. I can't be too crazy. I mean, that's basically it. Like, not... And it doesn't always work, right? I will definitely still fall prey to that sometimes. I mean, it just takes practice. Doing the bits that I want to do first is probably a good way of doing it too, because that way you're sure of getting... it's almost actually easy, because like looking at something like this, I'm like, oh, okay, I really, the skull and the character over here, the fun bits to paint, so I'm probably going to be spending more time on them. I mean, it's a little more awkward if the bits that are the focus of your piece are the least interesting to paint, but a lot of the time, the bits that are more fun are usually the bits that are the focus, so it works out okay. Yeah. How long did this take me? What is it? Yeah, about 2 hours. Started streaming at 1:30. Perfect. Yeah. There you go. Alright. I think I'll call it there today. Thank you so much, everybody, for coming along. Had a great time. Really happy with how this worked out. Yeah. Yeah, sweet. Maybe next weekend then, hopefully, do another round. See you again. We'll post about it on Twitter. Is probably the easiest place to find it. Or Instagram. I guess you can turn your notifications on Instagram, and that'll be a good way to do it. Yeah. Otherwise, sometime Saturday afternoons are probably going to be what I'm aiming for. Yeah, thanks for coming out. Had a great time. And I shall see you all next time.